even the little things, right? So obviously the kitchen's being designed for smaller groups and all that's awesome. But even the fact that every individual building has its own covered driveway. So just that one little thing, to me, really shows how much thought that they're putting into it.
The beautiful design, the open floor concept, it's beautiful. It's like living in your dream home, but it's functional as well. The overhang out front is a really nice option to have because of the transporting in and out. To be covered from the rain is amazing. The technology package was incredible. I think that's really a way to stay in contact with your family members.
What stands out the most is that it's boutique. And what boutique means, it's personalized spaces for those that are looking for a home feeling environment. So I love the fact that there's kitchens within every one of the buildings so that they can have that personalized experience for their dietary needs. I love the fact that the nursing center, that the office you can see from all angles, that there's cameras throughout, that there is a huge radius in the bathrooms if you are in a wheelchair, if you're wheelchair bound, to be able to move around. There is a really good amount of space in there.
There's just so many small details. I mean, everything from the internet to being equipped and future-proof to the furniture coming from Medline. I mean, all these little details really make this community stand out.
What I love, another thing was the walkways, the outside walkways for the residents. And with physical therapists coming out, I loved that it is a real natural way. When somebody's working with a therapist, they're actually walking outside. And I think that's just very unique.
The homey feeling, the environment, how much it feels like just an oversized house, someplace I would love to live. It's bright, it's light, it's cozy, and it's going to be geared towards inclusivity, which I really love, having the residents involved.
It was divine.
It was amazing.
I wish I could go eat with mom every night at Sage Oak. Get some awesome food.
The food is excellent.
The way they're doing it here, where there's 6 different meal times for each of the smaller houses, not only does that allow the chef to be able to accommodate the folks in each house to what they like, from the pan to the plate. It's warmer, it's fresher, it's gonna taste better.
I can't tell you how many facilities I go into, and 4 out of 5 of my patients will tell me that they aren't eating much because the food is so bad. But to have it prepared and provided to them is a huge advantage and a wonderful thing, because people really thrive on not only a good, well-cooked meal, but the socialization of being around their, fellow residents.
Food is one of the most important social features for a lot of the seniors. And oh my gosh, this place was amazing. I love that each house has their own kitchen and their own chef, and that they can prepare the food and the residents can watch and participate.
I do know by experience working in the industry that food and the quality is really important. It's often a highlight of a senior's day. So I think it'll be a big hit for Sage Oak.
Stands out to me and kind of blows me away is this whole kitchen, open kitchen, personal chef. 3 times a day you're seeing your food being cooked. If a family's coming through on a Saturday and they've been at 3 or 4 other communities and maybe you're the last stop of the day, and they walk in and that guy's wheeling and dealing on the stove, and the residents are chopping it up with him and they're smelling their food being cooked. I mean, I can't see how anybody doesn't turn to each other and go, wow, this is it. Everybody loves good food. You have a connection with it.
So when I see things like the well thought out kitchen, there's no kitchen in this marketplace that I've ever seen that is wide open like that. And so when you think of like your family gatherings, Christmas, Thanksgiving, whatever, so when you have a kitchen like this where they're gathering around there, it's very familial feeling. There's a reason why we have the palettes that we have, and there's an enjoyment, like it triggers chemicals in the brain, excitement when there's good food. And when there's good food and good company and a good environment like this, I think it's a combination of all of that.
My entire career in senior living has been in food and beverage, and the concept around having like a personal chef in each community, that's amazing. That engagement, that interaction with those residents. Meal is a top 3 satisfier for residents in all of the industry. So having that one-on-one engagement is amazing.
Louisiana girl, I love sitting at a counter to eat. So for me, it's a great way to communicate with people, just have fun, see what's going on, get your food fast, and just enjoy that dining experience like you're at home.
best things about Sage Oak is just the concept itself. You know, you see a lot of what I'll consider a factory style, but this feels like a home. You have 6, individual units that are, it feels like there's a community. It feels like when you walk in, you're walking into somebody's living room.
Each building is laid out basically the same. Every has a homey feel. You feel like you see the kitchen right there, you see the living room right there. It's not like a commercial facility where you feel like you're in a hospital setting. I mean, they feel like they would be more at home.
When you're placing someone you love in an assisted living facility, you want it to be as close to home as it can possibly be. You want the place they go to feel safe and secure and comfortable.
So the first thing I saw when I walked in here was the nurse's station with the windows, and was like, this is going to be much better because you now have an eye and a place for the staff to, chart, talk to family members, have care conferences without losing sight of their residents. Falls can make or break, even people that are relatively independent. So to be able to see it before it happens, or to respond to it quickly, can certainly affect the outcome of a negative event.
I love that by the setup of having that station where your caregivers and your nurses have immediate visual on a consistent basis of everybody in the common area and are just a hop, skip, and a jump from the individual rooms. It also allows for the most common thing that happens in decline, which is falls. And as we age, we either forget our walkers or we don't do it as well. And with those folks sitting right there, they'll be able to catch a lot of times when someone has forgotten their walker or they're a little unsteady, hop out of that room by seeing it and prevent a fall. And that in and of itself will be a great level of care.
The demographic that moves into some of these communities, they are getting older. They are dealing with more chronic illnesses as they move in. And so it's real important to have eyeballs on them, consistently. And so a lot of these buildings where the nurse's station is down the hall, it's tucked into some cubby someplace, and you got 60 other residents on the hall, it's too far out, and they can only really keep tabs on the residents that are right there. Whereas with this building, the nurse can actually see out and see where the residents are. The hallways, while they're shorter, and I recommend those things, the hallways also end in windows, which helps to prevent some of the wandering that you find with some of the seniors. Because if they walk to the end of the hallway and there's nothing there, it's just a wall, it's confusing to them, and it creates more confusion and wandering versus if it ends in a window, because then there's some reason for them to be there. They look out the window, maybe they go down to the next one. But those kind of things I don't see in any other community where they end like that.
I am very impressed with what I've seen at Sage Oak, the open concept for the great room and the kitchen, and the individualized attention to the meals. Smaller living areas, I think, is also wonderful.
It's really unique that they're using the smaller concept to serve their residents. It sounds like they've gone to a lot of detail to figure out what's best and most important to the seniors. The smaller caregiver to resident ratio is important because the fewer people that you have to care for as a caregiver, the better care that you can give.
I've been working with Sage Oak since since they initially started. I think the small residential care home setting, they have taken that and scaled it up to a larger facility, which I think is great. Their approach is different, it's unique, and I think it will benefit many of the seniors in this community.
I think that people are going to be very receptive to that smaller environment. People can get lost in big facilities, and not in the sense of actually physically lost, but they just kind of fall behind. When you have a community like this where it's so intimate and you have that attention, that great food, great community, great conversation, then it really makes an impact.
Every single community I've ever worked with, they all say that they do senior living differently. Right? They all claim that they've got this new way of doing things. In reality, they're all pretty much the same. What Lo is doing and his team at Sage Oak is actually really different.
The ability for the memory care residents to be able to go outside and be secure is important because, you know, when people elope, I've had people elope from memory care facilities, and then you ask them, where were you going? And they're like, I just wanted to get to my car, I wanted to get to my house, I wanted to get to the store. So if you provide them with an opportunity to go out and then be able to redirect them and have a safe space for them, it's important.
Probably one of the most underrated features of a living community is just the natural bringing nature inside. All too often we see folks who are in an area where, you know, for lack of a better phrase, get cabin fever and are not exposed to natural light, have sleep-wake disruption, have a lot of what we call sundowning phenomenon. That is minimalized, you know, much more minimal in a setting where you have natural light, where you have the daily social interaction, where you have a routine that is engaging to the resident.
The windows at the end of the hallways. That seems like such a trivial thing, and something that even someone like myself who spends day in, day out in nursing homes and hospitals and memory care units, I see these places every day, and I never considered how much a window might change the entire, even trajectory, this is dramatic, but trajectory of somebody's day. I can't tell you how many people in memory cares I've seen standing staring at a wall. That seems like such a small touch, but that's such a huge deal.
The beauty to me, having worked in the industry so long, is that you've had historically these really large communities, and then your other choice was a true residential care home. Sage Oaks, in my opinion, is a beautiful blend of the two, allowing for a hybrid that you have the benefits of the larger community with activities, nursing, etc. At the same time, you have the home quality of the smaller residential care home. So it's a wonderful hybrid of the two.
Part of the reason families choose personal care homes is because they want their mom, dad, grandpa, uncle to have an experience that is home-y, that looks like home, that feels like home to them. And so this place certainly has that vibe.
So much of the time, it's an either-or situation, right? You have to choose between a small home with 16 beds or a larger place with 200 beds, right? Because there are pros and cons to each. And what I think that Lo and his team have done a masterful job of here is taking the best of both of them and putting it into a really unique approach. They just took the best of the best and built this. And that to me is what's really unique. And like I said, I mean, a lot of people love to talk about being different, but Lo and the guys here at Sage Oak, I mean, this is different. This is a different way of building senior living.
Seeing how they started from small, 8 resident or 6 resident residential care homes and how they've scaled that model to a larger facility. But, they've kept the intimacy to it, but also worked on, I think, bringing up the features to serve the number of folks they need to serve. A lot of the larger facilities cannot accommodate on that intimate a setting as they have here.
What they've done really well here is certainly take all the benefits of the boutique residential model, the caregiver ratios, the intimate setting, the neighborhood home feel, and then grab that scale and purchasing power and all the stuff that you get in the bigger box communities. When you're walking around here, you do feel like you're in just a very nice new designed home. But then you step outside and you go, oh, I could see myself walking down the courtyard here and I'm running into my friends that I've made, and it's almost like college, right? We all kind of lived in our own little dorm or our little pod, but we had friends all over the campus, and we loved to, when it's warm out, we'd go outside and we'd sit in the park, we'd hang out together. So I think you kind of have that element here. If you're looking to do activities or whatnot, again, I think when you just look at a small standalone residential facility that's 6 or 10 beds, kind of hard to do good activities because you don't have that scale. But here you can draw everyone out, of their individual community, and whether it's outside or in the admin building or whatever. Now, if you get 60 or 70% attendance, you've still got a lot of people that can make for a good activity. So again, I just think it's a kind of a very innovative idea to take everything that was good about small homes and just drop them on one site.
Staffing ratios are better, obviously, because you're in a smaller setting with residents. You get to know them. It's kind of a neighborhood setting. Each home is going to have its own unique feel. The connections that are going to be made with the residents in each individual home is going to be really, really important. I really appreciated the ability to kind of see the openness and the common spaces where you can manage your daily tasks, but still like be engaged with residents. You know, the way the rooms are set up, the way the floor plan is set up, it's easy to stay on top of care and engagement with residents. That's really cool. And just the whole idea of the residential model on a campus. I love it. It's very unique, and I think it's going to be a game changer for the industry.